Every grand story begins with a single breath. Tonight, you'll dive into the depths, into plumes of bioluminescent wonder and secrets that only the ocean floor can hold. But before we descend, I need to know. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. Imagine crystal chandeliers glinting against waves of glowing plankton, marble floors replaced by sculpted glass beneath the sea. Our tale opens not in a ballroom, but in an otherworldly dome, miles offshore, an exclusive playground for the ultra-rich. I'm your omniscient guide, privy to every hidden glance, each heartbeat in the hush of the deep. Over the next 13 installments, we'll peel back layers of power, passion, and peril. By the end of this journey, you'll know Lila Hart, an adventurous spirit who's never been one to back down from a thrill. And Sebastian Drake, the billionaire deep-sea explorer whose very name stirs whispers of obsession and danger. Along the way, don't just listen, engage. What would you do in Lila's shoes when the lights go dark? Let me know your thoughts, and let's build this adventure together. Thanks for joining. Now, take a deep breath. The ocean floor awaits. The dome's interior gleams like a submerged ballroom. Soft LED chandeliers hover overhead, their crystal-like prisms scattering ribbons of light through the water beyond. Guests in tuxedos and flowing gowns drift along glass walkways, champagne flutes in hand, as schools of neon fish drift through the panoramic walls. At the center, a spiral staircase of polished steel curves upward toward a sunken mezzanine, where VIPs lounge on chaises longs draped with sea silk throws. Waiters glide among them with silver trays, offering tiny lantern-shaped canapés that glow from within. Lila Hart, in a sleek midnight blue gown, pauses at a viewing alcove. She presses her palm to the cool glass and watches a manta ray glide beneath. The hush of the crowd is punctuated only by soft laughter and the clink of glasses. Crystal-clear projections dance in air above the bar, ancient shipwrecks, mermaid myths, and the billionaire's deep-sea exploits. Each visual promises adventure, yet also hints at secrets kept in the darkest trenches. A quartet plays a haunting melody in the corner, their strings echoing like whale song. Nearby, an ice sculpture shaped as a compass slowly drips, sending rivulets of water into an ornate basin. Lila lifts her glass and turns, catching the gaze of a masked stranger. His tailored suit fits like armor, and his eyes glint with knowing amusement. For a moment, time slows, and she feels as though the entire dome is holding its breath. Lila Hart grew up in a cramped beach cottage on the Cornish coast, where every tide whispered its own secret. As a child, she'd press her ear to driftwood, imagining distant shipwrecks and hidden treasures beneath the waves. Her parents ran the local dive shop, teaching her to navigate kelp forests before she could ride a bicycle. By age 10, she'd logged more hours underwater than most seasoned sailors, mapping coves, cataloging starfish, and sketching coral formations in a battered notebook. But the sea also demanded sacrifice. At 14, she watched her older brother disappear on a solo dive, never to return. Guilt became her constant companion, if only she'd gone instead. That loss ignited her passion and her drive. She earned scholarships, speaking at marine conferences by 18 and leading charity dives for endangered reefs. Yet fame never softened the ache in her heart. Now, with camera in hand, Lila travels the globe, seeking stories of wonder, danger, and hope. She's driven by curiosity but haunted by what lies beneath, the unknown forces that claim lives without warning. Tonight, she's not here to chase fame, only to satisfy a restless longing. Yet in the hush of the dome, memories ripple beneath her polished exterior. Every shimmer of bioluminescence calls back to childhood dreams, and to that final, fatal dive. Mid-story hook. If you'd lost someone you loved to the sea, how would you honor their memory? Share your thoughts below. Lila drifted along the inner ring of the dome's viewing gallery, enchanted by the play of light and shadow on the ocean beyond. In her hand, her vlogging camera hummed softly, ready to capture every marvel. She glanced at a polished brass plate embedded in the glass, bioluminescent bloom, engaged to illuminate. Thinking it a display control, she pressed her palm to the plate without hesitation. A soft click resonated through the steel beneath her feet. In an instant, the water outside began to glow with electric blue tendrils, as if the sea itself had been set aflame. The tiny lanternfish burst into sparkling life, darting through the water in dizzying spirals. Gasps and delighted laughter swept through the guests, but within seconds, the glow intensified beyond spectacle. Plumes of engineered plankton, designed to light the dome in case of power loss, erupted in thick clouds, obscuring visibility and clogging the external sensors. An alarm bell rang overhead, echoing like a war drum. Red strobes began to flash. Lila's heart pounded when the hatch controls locked with a pneumatic hiss. "Guests, remain calm," boomed a disembodied voice through the intercom, pitched too low to mask the tremor beneath. "Safety protocol engaged. Await further instructions." Champagne glasses rattled on trays. Sophisticated whispers turned to sharp murmurs. On the mezzanine, a trio of socialites clutched each other's arms. The quartet's melody stuttered to a halt. In the dim red glow, each patron saw not a curated delight but an emergency. Lila's breath hitched. This wasn't a display, she realized. This was a lockdown procedure. The panic blossomed in her chest. What had she done? Moments later, a voice crackled through the intercom again, firmer this time. "Security teams are en route, but repair divers will take at least 20 minutes to reach this sector. Please remain inside the dome." 20 minutes in a sealed structure, drifting miles offshore. Lila's fingers curled around the glass. Her reflection stared back, pale and wide-eyed. She had triggered this. The vlogger who lived for underwater thrills had put dozens of lives at risk. Through the haze of glowing plankton, a sleek submersible detached from its cradle in the dome's outer wall. Its hull bore the Drake exploration insignia, a stylized trident arching over a wave. Lights along its bow pierced the clouded water, probing for a hatch. As the sub pressed itself against the dome's reinforced viewport, its top hatch cracked open. A figure climbed out, suited in a wet-shell diving rig trimmed with gold filigree. Midnight black hair clung to his face, water beating on his angular jaw. Sebastian Drake's gaze locked on Lila's trembling form. From his vantage point, thousands of feet below the surface, he could see every flicker of doubt across her face. The guests hushed, watching the billionaire as though he were sea royalty. Each movement he made sent ripples of light dancing through the plankton cloud. Lila swallowed, her voice caught in her throat. He slipped off his mask, water trickling from raven hair. His eyes, the color of storm-tossed seas, bore into hers with a lethal calm. "You," he said, his voice rich and low, "have a knack for finding trouble in my private domain." A hush fell over the dome. The emergency lights pulsed red, casting elongated shadows against the glass. Mid-story hook. If you were trapped miles underwater because of a single mistake, what would be your first move? Comment below, there's no wrong answer, only survival. Lila's mind raced. She wanted to apologize, to explain, but words tangled. All at once she felt exposed, an amateur among titans. Yet she refused to cower. I thought it was part of the exhibit," she managed, voice trembling. "I'm so sorry," Sebastian smiled, a slow curve that didn't reach his eyes. "Sorry won't reset the locks or our schedules." He gestured behind him to the sub's maintenance panel, where divers in luminescent gear hovered, awaiting his command. Time stretched. The plankton swirled thicker, the dome's air buzzing with tension. In that charged silence, every heartbeat felt like a thunderclap. The dome's emergency lights stuttered between red and amber as Lila sank to the nearest chaise, heart hammering like a war drum. Around her, the guests whispered in tight clusters, some eyes wide with fear, others aflutter with scandalized curiosity. Her camera lay forgotten at her side, its lens smeared with condensation. Every flash of bioluminescent blue beyond the glass felt like an accusation. "I nearly killed us all," Lila thought, the weight pressing on her chest. A waiter hovered, trembling, a crystal flute of champagne poised in midair. Lila's fingers closed around the base, but she couldn't lift it. Instead, she felt the world tilt, vision blurring at the edges. "Lila," a soft voice. Her best friend Marisol, long auburn hair tied back, sea salt freckles dotting her cheeks, knelt beside her. "You okay?" Lila swallowed hard. She forced a nod, though her throat felt clogged. I'm fine." But the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "What if someone got hurt? What if this place floods?" Marisol placed a cool palm on Lila's wrist. "It wasn't on purpose, but right now people need calm. You've got that gift, even when you're terrified." The warmth in her words was a lifeline. Above them, the intercom crackled again. "Divers will restore normal operations in approximately 15 minutes. Please remain seated." The announcer's calm did little to soothe the racing room. Lila closed her eyes, inhaling the scent of sea silk and ozone. Memories of the deep flooded her mind. Silent shadows gliding over coral, the hush before a hunt, the heart-stop moment when diver meets abyss. Marisol squeezed her hand. Remember why you're here. Your channel, your voice, brings people closer to the ocean's wonders. Don't let today's mistake define you. Her words found purchase. Lila straightened, squaring her shoulders. She picked up the camera and checked the battery, still alive. She raised it to record a short apology, a vow to show both beauty and caution in her next dive. A ripple of movement distracted her. On the mezzanine, Sebastian Drake stood alone, mask off, surveying the dome like a king over his realm. His gaze found Lila's for an instant, cool, unreadable, and then drifted away. Heat flared in Lila's cheeks. He's judging me. Yet beneath her embarrassment, a spark of defiance glowed. She'd face his scrutiny and the sea head-on. Marisol leaned in. When you post your next clip, lead with this authenticity. Show them the wonder and the risk. That's real adventure. Lila nodded, voice steady. You're right. This everything can help people respect the ocean more. She gave Marisol a small, grateful smile. But as the lights hummed back toward normal and the plankton clouds began to clear, Lila felt a new tension knot in her stomach. The incident was over, but the reckoning was just beginning. What would you do in Lila's shoes after a disaster of your own making? Reply below. There's no wrong answer, only survival. Sebastian Drake stepped through the hatch, water sluicing from his shoulders like liquid night. His gold filigreed rig gleamed under the dome's restored lights. He moved with purpose, each footfall measured, as though pacing the deck of a private warship. He paused before Lila. No sympathy softened his storm-tossed eyes, instead, an unreadable calculation. This situation ends today on my terms, he declared, voice low enough that only she could hear. Around them, guests held their breath. A technician hovered at his side, tablet in hand. Sebastian swiped through schematics of the dome systems, schematics Lila recognized from his patented deep-sea labs. You've compromised security, he said, flicking a finger at the intercom readout. I've sent your apology to all of them. Lila's throat went dry. She realized he wasn't simply rescuing her out of goodwill. Her mistake had become his spectacle, a demonstration of absolute control. Every guest had just received a live feed of her panic. Marisol hissed at her side. He's making you the show. Lila's heart thudded. Was this punishment or seduction? The line blurred when Sebastian stepped closer. He offered her a drenched hand, palm open. Come with me, he said. There's a place where we can discuss this privately. His gaze flicked to the crowds, then back to her. Or would you rather they decide your fate? Lila hesitated between indignity and intrigue. Every instinct screamed to refuse, yet the promise of answers about him, the dome, her own reckless curiosity pulled her forward. Mid-story hook. How far would you go to protect someone you barely know? Comment below. There's no wrong answer. The private lift shuddered as it descended from the dome into the heart of Sebastian Drake's undersea estate. Lila pressed her hand against the cold titanium wall, each pulse in her wrist echoing like distant sonar. Beside her, Sebastian's silhouette was rigid, an unspoken promise of both peril and protection. Below, the main foyer unfolded like a cathedral of steel and glass. Bioluminescent corals bloomed in massive aquaria along the walls, their ghostly light illuminating portraits of Drake ancestors, stern faces carved in marble, eyes forever surveying the deep. At the center of the room, a polished obsidian table bore a single artifact, the black pearl rumored to have sank with a pirate's galleon centuries ago. A hush fell as they entered. Reporters flown in at Sebastian's behest hovered in clusters, camera lenses trained like predatory fish. Flashbulbs popped, their staccato bursts reflecting in the dome windows overhead. Whispers rippled. Who is she? His new protégé? Scandalous stunt or genuine interest? From a side alcove, Sebastian's sister, Adrienne, emerged in a gown of sea-green silk that clung to her like kelp. Her eyes, the same storm gray as her brother's, flicked over Lila with thinly veiled contempt. Brother, she said, voice smooth as crested waves. I trust you've sorted our intruder. Sebastian's jaw tightened. She pressed the controls, he replied, voice low. An accident, but now she's here. His gaze slid to Lila, who bowed her head in apology, though the reporters interpreted it as reverence to a king. Adrienne's lips curved into a polite smile. I see. She turned and addressed the assembled press. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. The dome's spectacle was an unintended demonstration of our safety protocols, now fully restored. We apologize for any inconvenience. Her tone was gracious, but her eyes bored into Lila, a huntress marking her prey. A tall man in a sharply cut suit joined them, Sebastian's father, Lawrence Drake. His presence carried the weight of boardroom battles and deep-sea salvage rights. He laid a paternal hand on Sebastian's shoulder, though his gaze stayed on Lila. "My son," he said, voice deep as ocean trenches, "we must ensure our guests and our reputation remain unblemished. Tell me, what do you propose, Sebastian?" Sebastian stepped forward, cutting the tension like a cutting blade. "We give Miss Hart a chance to redeem herself. She will tour our research wing tomorrow, under supervision. If she proves worthy, perhaps she can showcase her footage in a special Drake-sponsored series on ocean conservation." A ripple went through the reporters. Cameras clicked, Adrian's smile tightened. "An exhibition," she purred. "Publicity brilliant, you do love a spectacle." Lila lifted her head, voice unwavering even as her heart thudded. "I accept. But only if you agree to let me tell the whole truth, the beauty and the risk." Her gaze traveled the Drake family circle. "No edits, no cover-ups." Lawrence studied her, the lines around his eyes softening for a moment. "Very well. But understand this, the ocean is ruthless. If you overstep, if you endanger even a single person, your access ends. Permanently." Each word was a weighted anchor. Lila nodded. "I understand." Adrian stepped close, her breath scented with ocean breeze. "Then let us begin, Miss Hart. But remember, some secrets are buried for a reason." The family retreated down a gleaming corridor toward the research wing, reporters in tow. Lila followed, the hum of submarines and the hiss of hydraulic doors blending into a low, mechanical symphony. She squeezed Sebastian's arm. "Thank you for the opportunity, and for not feeding me to the fishes." He offered a thin half-smile. "Don't mistake opportunity for charity. Prove you belong or watch these halls close behind you." As they passed a glass-enclosed lab, Lila glimpsed tanks of exotic creatures, ghostly jellyfish pulsating with neon rings, an enormous cephalopod whose undulating tentacles brushed the glass. A researcher in a white coat scribbled notes, oblivious to their passage. Mid-story hook. If you were offered a chance to redeem a grave mistake, under the watchful eyes of the world's most powerful family, what would you reveal first? Share your thoughts below. They emerged into a vaulted gallery where monitors displayed live feeds from remote trenches. Sebastian paused before a screen showing a labyrinth of undersea canyons, where a lone sub drifted. On its side, the Drake trident gleamed. He turned to Lila, voice hushed. "Tomorrow you'll dive there, alone. Your footage will be live, no edits. That's the price of trust." Lila's pulse thundered. The abyss stared back at her through the screen, as dark and infinite as a question with no answer. The sunken corridor's soft lantern glow guided Lila and Sebastian toward the sub-dock. Each footstep echoed against polished basalt walls lined with coral-mounted lanterns. Between them, the air hummed with unspoken tension. Sebastian halted by a recessed alcove. He withdrew 2 steaming cups of tea, jasmine with a hint of sea salt, and offered one to Lila. The fragrance curled around her, calming the storm in her chest. "For focus," he said. She sipped, warmth spreading through her fingertips. "Thank you," she whispered, meeting his eyes. Something flickered there, respect perhaps, or something more guarded. Minutes stretched as they stood side by side, leaning against the railing. Outside the viewport, schools of jellyfish drifted like lanterns in a midnight sky. Lila watched their gentle pulses and felt her racing thoughts slow. "You'll dive at dawn," Sebastian murmured, voice softer than before. "I won't lie, it's dangerous." He touched the rim of his cup, gaze downcast. "But I believe you can handle it." Lila squared her shoulders. "I will, no embellishments, no fear. Just the truth." Her words hung between them like a promise. He nodded, offering a hint of a smile. The distance between them felt smaller now, 2 explorers bound by the same depths. Mid-story hook. "If a simple cup of tea could steady your nerves before a life-or-death dive, would you accept it? Tell us why below." A gala lights-up montage flashed across the monitors. Champagne fountains, string quartets, guests in designer gowns. Yet Lila's focus was on the black pearl centerpiece, a gift from Sebastian, she'd learned, to his late mother. She almost missed the familiar figure at the doorway. Her ex-fiancé, Julian Reyes, stepped in wearing a tuxedo tailored to perfection. His dark curls framed a face she once adored. But behind his smile lay the ambition that ended their engagement. He'd chosen corporate ladder over her oceanic crusade. Julian's eyes locked on Lila. He crossed the marble floor in 3 strides, voice low but sharp. "Lila Hart," he said, "I should have known to find you here, courting the rich for clicks." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Reporters jostled for position. Sebastian stiffened beside her, one hand curling into a fist. Julian's smile didn't falter. I hear you've been causing quite the stir. A disgraceful stunt or a brilliant campaign? He let the question dangle, and eyes flitted between Lila and Sebastian. Heat rose in Lila's cheeks. Memories of their breakup boardroom betrayal, her fiery retort flared anew. She planted her feet. I'm here on my own merits, she said evenly. Nothing more. Julian's gaze flicked to Sebastian, assessing. Merits that nearly killed everyone aboard. Charming, he inclined his head. Enjoy your symposium, Miss Hart. With that, he turned and vanished into the crowd, leaving a trail of whispered speculation. Lila exhaled, spine straight. Sebastian's hand found hers. Ignore him, he said, but his eyes carried a warning. The surface world could be as treacherous as the deep. Mid-story hook. Have you ever faced an unexpected confrontation in front of witnesses? How did you hold your ground? Comment below. A semicircle of podiums gleamed beneath harsh lights. Reporters filled every seat, cameras trained on Lila and Sebastian flanking Lawrence and Adrian Drake. The Black Pearl rested on a velvet cushion at their feet, a silent witness. Lawrence tapped the mic. Thank you all for coming. Today, Miss Hart will unveil her live feed from the Drake Abyss. Flashbulbs exploded as Adrian handed Lila the remote. Lila swallowed, heart thrumming. One click and the giant screen behind them switched to grainy underwater footage. A shadowy canyon, ghostly currents, and a lone figure descending. That figure was her. Questions erupted. Why risk live coverage? Is this safe? Who sanctioned this? Sebastian stepped forward, voice calm. Ocean conservation demands transparency. No edits, no agendas, just reality. Another click. The canyon walls closed in, bioluminescent worms tracing her path like ribbon torches. Lila's voice narrated softly, steady despite the tremor in her chest. This is the Drake Abyss, home to species unknown to science. A hand shot up. Miss Hart, after your mistake, why should we trust you now? Silence. All eyes on Lila. She inhaled, recalling Marisol's words, authenticity. Because truth includes danger. It includes mistakes. The ocean doesn't censor itself. Neither will I, her words hung, vibrant as plankton glow. Reporters scribbled. The Drakes exchanged glances, pride and doubt interwoven. In the hush following the conference, Lila and Sebastian stood before the Black Pearl. Adrian approached, expression unreadable. You held your own, she conceded softly. True courage. Lawrence placed a hand on Lila's shoulder. You've honored our family name and the ocean. For that you have our support. He gestured to Sebastian, whose stormy eyes gleamed with something tender. Sebastian stepped closer, lifting the pearl. This belonged to my mother, he said. She believed every story should be told, no matter how dark the waters. He offered it to Lila. Now I pass it to you as a symbol of trust. Lila's throat tightened. She reverently touched the pearl's cool surface. Thank you, she whispered. In that sacred moment, marble floors and crystal chandeliers faded away. Only two hearts beating beneath the ocean's weight, fear and hope entwined. Tears filled her eyes. I promise every dive, every clip will honor that trust. Sebastian's smile was small but genuine. Then we begin anew. He bowed his head, pressing his forehead to hers. Months later, the dome's gala hall brimmed with artists, scientists, and activists. Lila stood at a lectern, unveiling Project Deep Light, a virtual workshop series teaching communities to protect coral reefs, funded anonymously by Sebastian. Her screen showed live footage from thriving reefs once endangered. Children sketched starfish, students tracked migrations. Across live streams, comments poured. I never knew. I want to help. Thank you, Lila. Sebastian watched from the shadows, pride softening his gaze. When the applause thundered, he slipped into the front row. Lila's eyes met his steady, triumphant. Adrian and Lawrence joined him, beaming. You've built a legacy, Lawrence whispered. Adrian offered Lila a seashell-shaped pin. For bravery, she said. Lila pinned it to her lapel, voice clear over the mic. Our oceans hold wonders and warnings. Let's learn from both. The crowd erupted. Behind her, live feeds showed reefs healing, divers planting new corals. Mid-story hook. If you could learn one ocean conservation skill, what would it be? Comment below. We're building the next workshop together. The final installment draws near. Lila's journey from accidental saboteur to global ambassador proves that truth, raw, unfiltered, can spark real change. Sebastian's offer of trust and redemption shows power can serve wonder, not just wealth. Thank you for joining this odyssey beneath the waves. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep-sea confessions, unexpected romance, and the next emotional roller coaster. Your comments have shaped Lila's choices. Now tell us, what twist do you crave in our next tale? Until then, keep your curiosity alive, your courage steadfast, and remember, the deepest mysteries lie just beyond the light. Where will our next adventure take us? Comment below with your wildest ocean dream, and dive back in soon.